Game on.
Okay, one of the great things about the Build-A-Cade is that it is basically a 1/6 scale multi-cade. I mean, you can put on dedicated artwork like Joe Sabo's acrylic artwork, which is absolutely gorgeous. I highly recommend them. Or you can use other artwork as well, like I have the Escape Pods artwork here. You see on the left the Roto artwork, which again looks fantastic. It's a good thick vinyl. Both are fantastic options. But the Build-A-Cade, like a real arcade, is not a static item. The games you select are animated, so it'd kind of be cool to have the marquee do the same. I mean, it's really nice having a light-up marquee if you have a single game. If you want it to be just a Miss Pac-Man or just a Q-Bird or just a Robbie Roto, that's fine. When you have a multi-cade, you kind of want to have the marquee showcase what you have on the screen. And that's kind of where this new display comes into play. So he can see here, this is the 1/6 scale display from Kai. This guy does amazing work. I mean, he really, really does. You got to check out his website. I'll put a link down below to his website. He does a lot of great things. And this is something that he's been working on for well over a year. And I've been haunting him to release this. Now, this mark you see right here is actually nothing on the display. It's my light fixture in the dining room. So it's giving a little reflection there. But he even does a little, what do you call it? He stenciled in his signature over here. But the display is a beautiful TFT display on a 1/6 scale, something that's just amazing. When I saw he was doing this, originally it was a larger screen, and he was just trying to find the right screen to use, and he finally found one. So this is it here. Now the front panel here is like an acrylic, but the rest of it's actually like a heavy paper that he paints. It's just amazing what he did right here. Let's go through some of the other pictures here. Here it is on the back. You know, it's the BZ. I got the first one, 001. So this is, I don't want to call it a prototype, but it's definitely almost like a pre-production sample. He sent one out to me before, and we had some issues. I sent it back to him. We got that all corrected. But you can see right here, he's got his signature in here. And this is actually, I guess, a paper on the side here. And this is acrylic down here. And you see it's USB-C on this device here. So that's how we're going to connect it to the Build-A-Cade USB port with an included USB cable. But it's a 1/6 scale dynamic TFT marquee. And this is just, it's fantastic. And when you see it in person, the display is just gorgeous. I really, really love it, the work he did here. And again, he just put his little stencils in here, which is kind of cool. And again, these are hand built. These are not 3D printed. It's got acrylic up here. And this is really like it's just a paper that he specially treats to make it look like plastic. 'Cause I thought it was plastic, but apparently it's not. But these are all handmade. You don't have to really worry about the paper being pressed in a little bit. This is all going to be hidden. It doesn't really matter. But this is actually the bottom of the unit where we have like power switches and different modes. You shouldn't have to ever touch them. But if there's something wrong, he may ask you to press these buttons, which you will still have access to when it's installed. You don't have to take anything apart. It'll still be accessible. But for the most part, you'll never touch these buttons down here whatsoever. So again, this is nice having a static display, but wouldn't you rather have it look something more like this? I know I would. So let's get started on how we're going to install this in the GRS Build-A-Cade. So the first thing you're not going to need here is my standard marquee. So I'm going to go back one picture right here. So this bar right here, obviously this, and this upper bar will not be needed. And that's what we have over here. This is the bottom bar that holds the marquee, which you would put a decal on, whether it be a Build-A-Cade or artwork you get from someone else, or you create yourself. And then the top, these will not be needed here. Although I do hope, and I'll show you a little bit later, that we can come up with something on the top. And I'll get into that a little bit later in the video. So that's what mine would look like. You would obviously have your artwork on here, you know, Robbie Roto, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, whatever you want to put in here. And this would be backlit because I have some LEDs behind this to illuminate it. But I'd rather have what Kai has here. This is, I think, a fantastic idea he's had. So here's a USB cable, and this is how we'll connect it to the Build-A-Cade. Sorry for the mess, but I do enjoy a nice Coca-Cola. I'm not paid by them, but I do enjoy my Coca-Cola. But this is actually not hard to do. So if you're a little skittish about these type of things, Kai's made it very easy to do this. His instructions are fantastic, and he even has artwork you can actually download from his Discord if you want to get started. So here I opened up a Build-A-Cade. Again, you can be building it fresh from a kit or have your one already built. So they're very easy to open up. I do have a Raspberry Pi 4 in this particular Build-A-Cade, and has 4 USB ports. Now, in this particular Build-A-Cade, I do have my new 6-button joystick. I'll have a review on that soon, my fighter stick. So that's going into one of the buttons here, or one of the USB ports. Kai will get another USB port. Then the back of the Build-A-Cade eats up 2 more USB ports. Now, if we do have, for some reason, or however you've done it, used up all your USB ports, I've actually built Build-A-Cades with a built-in tiny USB hub. So you can always add more USB ports. It's not a big deal. But if you do have 4, that's more than enough. You have 2 for the back of the Build-A-Cade, 1 for Kai's active display, and then if you have a spinner or the steering wheel or the fighter stick and you have a USB port for a GRS joystick in there, you can still add that as well. So one of the first issues I had was to get the USB port, the USB-C port, up to where my marquee used to be. So this is my backlight right here. So there's the hole we had for our cable to come in and join to this backlight. So there's 2 things we need to do in this area where the backlight is on your Build-A-Cade. The first thing is we need to just make this hole a little bit bigger. I just used a file, and I just filed it a little bit bigger, just so I can get the USB-C cable through it. Otherwise, this plastic sheathing, there was just no way to get it in. So I just made it a little bit bigger. It only took a minute, just shaved it a little bit. And again, you're not going to see this. It's on the inside. You'll never see this. Just to get the USB-C cable up here to connect to the active display. And then, of course, I ran that cable down, and that's plugged into right here. This is the active display's USB-C cable running up top, and this is actually going to my new 6-button fighter stick, which, again, I haven't done a review on that yet, but that'll be coming up soon. So you can see the cable coming up right here. Sorry about the ghosting myself for taking the picture. But you can see right here, this is the my old backlight here. We have the USB-C cable coming up right here, so it can connect to the new active display. And this little spot right here and this spot right here should go into here. And again, I'm going to get into this in a little bit and how this goes in, but that's where it should go into here on both these sides. And then you know, the LED tray is down here. Then you put your top shelf up here. So this is kind of what it looks like. You know, the top shelf back on, this shelf back down here, and this really is just going to get pressed into here and lock into these 2 sides. But I did run into some issues, and I know it's because of the way Kai built his. And I'll get into that in a second. So you can see right here, we're just going to connect this USB-C cable here, and then these 2 will go into each one of these sides here, right here, and it should fit snugly, but it fits too snugly. I'm going to get into that in a minute, and I did give some suggestions to Kai on how we can rectify that for the users. Again, I was able to fix it, so it's not a horrible deal, but it's just something I feel that the end user will benefit from if he can fix it before he sends them out. So it's just simply connect that cable, and when you turn on your Build-A-Cade, the Raspberry Pi will power the USB port, and that'll turn on your active display. Now, the first issue, actually not first issue, my next issue, I should say, I came into is my LED. So the new TFT screen is going to go and hit this. So we need to unscrew these 2 screws, take out my LED bar. You're not going to need it anyway. You can use it for something else, I suppose. Who knows what other people can mod. Maybe you could put this down by the coin tray and make some illuminated coin trays down here. Whatever you want to do. But we also have to clip off this piece of plastic here. Otherwise, it will interfere. This side here doesn't seem to be a problem, but this one does, because basically this hits the USB-C cable when you put it in. So all you're going to do is take out the 2 screws. This comes right out. You can save it, get rid of it, whatever you want to do, but it's not needed anymore. And again, we're just going to take, I used a pair of little snips, and I just snipped this off. Be careful, you don't want to damage the flooring to where it makes a hole in the bottom. But I used a good pair of snips, and it took them off really easy, and it came off fairly cleanly. Just like that. It doesn't be perfectly flat. You just had to get it so the USB-C cable is going to basically be like right here to get it out of the way. And you can see now it fit in place. Now you can kind of see it right here that this is bowing a little bit here and bowing a little bit here. That's because Kai actually lost his top tray. So he took this tray here and he put it up here and included a little piece of plastic to cover this hole on top. So he made his, I think, a little bit longer to compensate for not having the pressure of the top plate and the bottom plate. And that's causing a lot of pressure here, which actually is causing this on mine to bow, which I'll show you in a little bit. So most people are going to, actually I think pretty much everyone's going to have their two trays here, and I think that guy's going to have to adjust these sides here so it doesn't bow out as much. Again, he had to make his a little bit longer because he only has the top tray holding it in place, and he's using that extra width to hold this together. But everyone else is going to have these both trays, and it's just causing too much pressure, I believe, on both sides. You can see here, once again, you can kind of see how this bows out a little bit. It does it on both sides, and the laminate here is very thin, and it just bows it out right here. If this was thicker or had something else here, it probably wouldn't be a problem, but it also makes assembly a little bit harder without filing some of these down. Again, I'll show you that in a minute, because it's just too far with the pressure, because these trays lock in place, they're grooved. So when you slide this tray in, it's locking in the left and right side, and so does the top, and of course, I think just too much pressure for his screen the way it's designed right now. But here's just a better shot. You see the USB-C cable coming up here, connecting, and when this was still here, it was impacting it just a little bit. It probably would have been fine, but I still think you should take it out of the way. It's not, you're not going to be going back. Once you have one of these screens, I'm telling you, you're not going to want to go back to anything else. It's a beautiful design he did here. Now this is the top of the Build-A-Cade, and this is the front, which would be basically where the marquee is. You're also going to have to trim this down. I just took a Dremel tool and I just went across it, because this will impact again on the unit. It might be okay, but I took mine out here just to make it a little bit easier for myself. And here's just another shot seeing what it looks like. And then that's all I did. I just trimmed it down to get it out of the way. You see, this is the front of the unit. This is how you slide it to the front where the marquee is going to be. Just trim that off on the front. You could try not doing it, but again, I ran into some issues with, I think the pressure is really from the left and right side. It wasn't coming from the top. But again, it really is not going to impact in any way, shape, or form either way with that being taken out. So you can see right here, I got the it in place. You can see how much it's bowing. Again, I think the problem was because Kai lost his top tray and used the LED tray up here, so he had no support on the bottom. So it's just too tight when you have this in here and the bottom tray in here, which you're going to want to do when you have your Build-A-Cade. You're going to want to have both trays in place, the top and the LED tray. It caused just too much pressure here. These are in the slots, but it's just in a little bit. I'll show you in a second. But you can see how much that is bowing because of pressure from this locking into place and the bottom tray locking in place. So this is something I hope Kai can fix. If not, again, it's not a hard thing to do, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So here is the bottom, and I said the buttons were going to be accessible. Now this is where one of my pieces of plastic would cover for my marquee, but you don't notice it with not being here. You're not going to be looking here, but it gives you easy access to these three buttons right here. Now again, maybe someone will come up with some little 3D printed thing you can put in place if you don't ever press them in here. I'm going to probably look at that myself, but again, this particular one is not an issue. It's really out of sight, out of mind. But also you can still see how these are bowing here on both sides because the pressure of this tray here, and of course the top tray. This is the one that Kai had lost. So his Build-A-Cade is not giving any pressure down here. It's really only being held on with the pressure from the top. So that's probably why his is a little bit longer. So from his experience, that's how it should be. But everyone else is going to have both these trays, and it's just putting too much pressure on his screen. So you can see again right here, it's not too bad here, but it really bows in. And that's because just a very tiny bit of the screen actually goes inside the slots on both sides because these are too thick. So what I ended up doing was I ended up taking a Dremel tool and I sanded some of this down. I'll show you in a second. And you can see also there's an open gap here on the top. And maybe we can just 3D print something to put this in place. Because this is something that will just annoy me, and I think may bother other people having this open gap here. But maybe someone just print 3D print something here, or people could put a small piece of plexiglass. Again, because he used the lower tray on top, it kind of, I think, went all the way to the end. But for the normal people, it's going to leave this open gap. Again, just another shot from the bottom. But you can see right now it's starting to delaminate here. This one is fine because it's got more adhesive, it's thicker, but since this is thinner, this is starting to delaminate right here. Again, I kept pressing it back on, hoping it would stay, but it would just come right back off. Again, It's because this is too thick and it's not going all the way in on both sides. So it's something I kind of filed down to take care of. You can see right here, it's just a little bit. I didn't think it was too big a problem. Like, okay, I'll press it down. But as the day went on, it came out quite a bit more. But you can see I'm turning on my Build-A-Cade here for the first time. And this how it boots up is telling you the firmware that's on here. And it's in like a black and white mode. But you can see there's the Build-A-Cade logo. And it's exciting because I know what this thing's going to look like when it's fully powered up and going. This is going to be amazing. Again, this is a just freshly built unit, but you can do the same thing with a standard unit. And you can see I got my 6-button fighter stick in here, which I can't wait to try that myself for like Mortal Kombat. I still suck at these games, but I do like Mortal Kombat. Again, I want you guys really to see how much this is the pressure on the side here. I tried everything I could without trying to modify anything, but unfortunately I had to make some modifications. And this is kind of what happened. So in recording the video, I looked back and the whole thing, again, delaminated up because there's just too much pressure here and here because of this tray and the upper tray. But again, it's something I want to adjust. You can see how much that did affect it because there's just too much pressure on it right here. So my first thought was, I saw on the back, this is what goes in the groove. So you can see this is the only spot that actually goes in the groove in my Build-A-Cade left and right side to hold it in place. And it does work. There's no question it does work. But I said, what if I tried trimming this off on both sides so it would go in more? So I did trim that off. And I did the same thing on the other side, which turned out to be really not necessary, but I did it because I'm trying to figure out how to make it fit better. So you can see I just took a Dremel tool. The bottom I didn't have to do that because in the bottom there's a larger circle for holding in my piece of plastic that holds in the marquee. It was only the top that it really needed it. So I did it, you can see on both sides here. I tried to follow the contour as best I could. Here's a better shot. You know, I just kind of trimmed that out here, trimmed it out here, but didn't touch the bottom one at all. And when I put it in place, it did go in a little bit more, but again, there was still too much pressure, and it still delaminated. So I thought, what else can I possibly do? I need to get these. It was either two choices. Either I really just cut off a piece straight down, which I really didn't want to do because it won't be as straight. So I said, what if I went to the back here and took a Dremel tool and just filed down the back of the marquee? You can see right here again, it's just too much pressure here. You can see here's where I cut my spots. This side went in better, but this side still didn't. It just wouldn't go in. It just was too thick for the opening. So I took a Dremel tool, and again, this is the back side. You're not going to see this side when it's installed. You're not going to see it. So, you know, I started off lightly going down on this until I realized, you know what, I got to go down quite a bit. So I just took my zip tool, and I just kept going to thin this out carefully. I made sure not to go up too high because this is what you're going to see on the top, or too low. I really only needed, you can see where the curve comes in from here, just to about the middle spot of the other curve on the top. So this is the bottom, this is the top. So I just kept going back and forth with my rotor zip tool, thinning it out. Again, you're not going to see this. It's not a big deal. And once I did that, I put it back in place. And right now, it seems to be pretty good. It's still bowing a little bit, so I might do it a little bit more. It just took some time, and I was excited just to try this thing out. But it's definitely feeling a lot better and hasn't really delaminated on the top since making that adjustment. Again, you can fault Kai for that. He lost his top tray. So his bottom tray went up here. So there was nothing holding the unit on here. So he made it, I think, a little bit wider to keep it in place. But everyone else is going to have both the top and bottom tray, and it's just too much pressure on it. But you can see once the Build-A-Cade does boot up, you can see the logo goes to color. And you can see right now it's ready to talk to Wi-Fi. So you do set this up, set up over Wi-Fi. You can connect to it. You set the IP address. We'll get into the software side in just a minute. But right now it's just letting you know everything is functioning okay. And the screen, I can tell you right now, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful color display. So next we're going to get into the software side, how we're going to set up the program. He does a nice program right here, which lets you, once you connect wirelessly to your marquee, you can start dragging, or dragging, I should say, not dragging, dragging marquees here, and it's going to auto size it and rotate it. And right now it says offline because the machine is not connected. But once it is online, you will take like a Pac-Man marquee or Space Invaders marquee, drag it here. It's going to save a copy, and it'll place it on the proper folder all automatically on the Build-A-Cade in its internal memory. So let's get into now how we set up the software side. Okay, so we're going to take a look now at the software side. So this is the website for the Marquee that Kai created, and you can get a lot of information here. I'll put a link down below to the actual website. But there's two different parts. There's going to be the software you need to install on your Raspberry Pi that runs on that end, but also there's a Windows part, which will allow you to copy the files and folders over to the Build-A-Cade. Okay, there's two different parts of this process. One is a file, an executable that you have to install on your Raspberry Pi that will run the Marquee on the Raspberry Pi side, which is what we're doing right here. We're downloading that part of the program, and we're going to copy it over to the Raspberry Pi. The other part of the program is going to be a Windows part, and that'll let you actually copy over in real time different marquees you want to add to your display. So for right now, we're simply going to take, there's two ways you can do this. You can connect via folders over your network, but I'm using WinSCP to copy the file directly over to the Build-A-Cade folder. As you can see right here, again, these instructions are very straightforward and easy to follow. So I'm going to copy this one file over to the Build-A-Cade folder where we have like our coin sounds and some videos that we have on the Build-A-Cade. So I'm just using WinSCP, but you can do it as well over Windows networking if you have that set up in that fashion. The next thing you're going to do is log in to your Raspberry Pi using like PuTTY. And PuTTY basically makes it so you're basically sitting in front of the Raspberry Pi. You could connect a keyboard and do this on the display, but it's probably a little bit easier doing it on your Windows-based PC. So I'm just going to connect here. The login ID is Pi and the password is Raspberry, and that'll get you into that part of it. You can see right here we're logged in. I'm just going to move this over to the side over here. I hate Windows 11, just opening up Windows and doing things. It gets annoying. But once we do that, there's a couple of commands. You can type it by hand, or you can select the text in the dark black letters. So that's the only thing you're copying is what's in the dark black letters. We're going to copy that over, and you can, once you copy it on the Windows side, you can just use the right-click mouse and it'll paste it, or you can just type it by hand, whatever you want to do. So you can see I'm just going to highlight the CD or just type CD space BAC, and that copies you over to that directory. Next thing we're going to do, since we're now in the Build-A-Cade directory, what's in dark here is this chmod space +X, so forth. So that's all you need to copy at this point. I'm just going to right click and it'll just type it all for me and just press enter. And now we're going to type the period \, or like I'm doing right here, I'm just going to highlight it, copy it, and go back into PuTTY, hit the right mouse button, and it'll type it for me. This way there's no chance for mistakes. And you press enter on that. And now we're just going to type a sudo space reboot, and that is going to restart the Raspberry Pi in your Build-A-Cade, and it will automatically launch the application for the display. So that was probably the hardest part of the entire process. other than the install process, obviously. But that's now has the display synced up with RetroPie on your Raspberry Pi, and as you move your joystick and highlight things, it will select them. So the next part of the install is whether you have a Windows PC, Mac, or Linux, is download the actual what he's calling the bzMarQuee Otron desktop app. And he's going to be adding a lot more features in the future. But right now, this is really just going to show you your Build-A-Cade, and it'll show you if you're connected, and allow you to take marquees and automatically resize it and to copy it to the proper folder. Now, you can also copy them manually. That's kind of how I did it. I copied over SCP, and I went to the directory, and I just copied them over because he has on his Discord a bunch of ones already done versus doing them all by hand. Now, you get this error message. It's okay. Just tell it to run anyway. It's just not licensed and through Microsoft, so that's just standard thing you're going to see. But just say it's okay. And this is kind of what it's going to look like. So we're going to allow it to go over the network to access the app. And it says drag and drop PNG files. You also have to make sure you're on the right network. So make sure you're on the same network with your computer as you are with the Marquee. Okay, once you see it, you're going to connect wirelessly over Wi-Fi directly to the display. When that does happen, it'll automatically open up a browser window allowing you to access the internal options of the display. Okay, and here is the Wi-Fi manager, and here we're going to configure the Wi-Fi so the device will be on the same network as your PC, so the application will automatically connect to the display and allow you to copy images over to it. So on the top of the screen are all the different Wi-Fis. I have it ghosted out right now, but you would put in and select the Wi-Fi you're connecting with your computer, and you would then have access to it. Then when you go back to the application, it would show that you are connected. Now normally you would just use the application here for doing one at a time, but I have a bunch of them you can see here that I got from his Discord. There's a couple of hundred of them. So you don't want to copy them one by one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually reconnect over WinSCP, and using WinSCP, I can copy them directly over. Now if you want to do one at a time, the program here is fine. Just drag them over and it copies them over individually. But since I'm starting off with a whole bunch of them right here, I'm going to basically copy them directly into the directory itself. So I'm going to go right into this directory right here, and I'm going to copy the files over. So all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to open up the folder. You can see I have a few hundred of them in here. I'm just going to select the first and last and drag them right over. And once that's done, we can now reboot our machine and give it a try. So we can see right here, it is currently running in the background, and as you move the joystick down, it's going to change the text right now on the top of the screen. What joystick you have, what controllers being used, it'll highlight all those. Now for the game consoles itself, you need to download and make them. So when you go to like an Atari or in television, right now it's going to show a generic artwork for them. But right now we do have the Robbie Roto one built in by default. So you can see once you selected the game, it brought up the Robbie Roto logo. But when you escape out, obviously you will need to add more depending on the systems that you have. So it will be some time consuming, but I'm sure as people buy this and start making packs, you'll be able to probably download them overall. Now here we turn off the light, you can just see how good that screen looks. Now, there will be a slight delay in selecting because the application has to then find that particular graphic and load it, so it may not be instantaneous, but it will come up relatively quickly. But that screen just looks beautiful. Okay, we can see here this is Kai's prototype unit and his Build-A-Cade. You can kind of see how it works. Right now it's showing when you select a new game, it downloads that to its local file system and then it displays it. So as you add these games, it will know that and download them and display them. But again, probably the hardest part of the whole project will be adding the graphics yourself, making them. But I'm hoping in time people will make graphic packs and it'll be a lot easier for people. But it was kind of fun going on the internet, finding the marquees, dropping on the application, and just having it copy it over. But you can see how well and nice that screen looks. So if you're interested in Kai's LCD 1/6 scale marquee for your GRS Build-A-Cade, and why wouldn't you be? I mean, this thing is absolutely fantastic. I'll put a link down below to the website. We can find out more information about it right here. I think it's going to go for $99, but I think the first 50 people who do sign up can get it for $79. I don't know if there's any of those left. But he's done a really fantastic job with his website and showing you all different things that the machine can do. And again, in addition to the ordering of it, which you can do off his website over here, he's got a really good step-by-step tutorial. I mean, I kind of went through it here, but it's so easy to do. You can do it right from his website right here. It's very easy to do. And again, these are hand-built, so there will be some time between ordering and actually getting it. But I have to say, he done a really, really nice job. Let's just take a look real quick on his little video right here. So pre-orders are open now, and again, $99, but the first 50 are $79.99. If you want to get yours now, head down to the link below and get your very own bzMarQuee LCD for the GRS Build-A-Cade by Kai. Game on! Now, right when I was about to post this video, I did speak to Kai about the installation process. He said he's going to make a video showing how he was installing it, and it shouldn't be causing the bowing that I'm getting. But he also said he's going to listen to people's feedback. So if people are seeing what I'm seeing, he'll look at adjusting it. But he says wait for his video to come out, show how he's installing it. Again, I do believe he's not installing the lower cover. It's just the top cover. I could be wrong. But we'll look forward to seeing how Kai does it, and hopefully people won't have to make any adjustments like I did. But with that being said, everyone, I really do appreciate you guys taking time to look at this video. Please go take a look at his website if you guys are interested in this active display. It really is a really nice product he's done here for the Build-A-Cade community. But that's it. So if you did like the video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out in the YouTube algorithms. And That's it for today, guys. I want to tell you once again, no matter what you do, no matter how you play games or what things you make for your game systems or purchase for them, they're all fun and games, but doesn't take place of family and friends. Make sure you always take a moment to tell your family and friends that you love them, because tomorrow's never promised. But in between those times, get this Cade screen and game on! Are you looking for that arcade experience at home? If you don't have the space for a full-size arcade in your house or endless funds, then you need the GRS Build-A-Cade. It's arcade quality without the arcade price, from someone you can trust. The GRS Build-A-Cade is a very simple, easy to assemble, 1/6 scale arcade computer you can build yourself. You can buy interchangeable controllers for every gaming option you need to play the games the way they're meant to be played. You can also design your own artwork or purchase artwork separately to make your GRS Build-A-Cade look like the machine of your dreams. The GRS Build-A-Cade is also the only home system STEM certified. Come see what all the YouTube creators are raving about. GRS Build-A-Cade. Game on. Sit, Blue Blue, sit. Good dog.